lot of times when you think about games, they have either you're just interacting with the game or you're interacting with others in this very sort of prescribed way. How is Journey different and how is ConsciousNetHacking002 different?
Well, Journey is very unique in that it's totally anonymous, so people can connect with who they are. They're kind of this blank canvas, you know they're a real person. The game kind of allows you to project whoever you need to be playing the game in kind of way.
Chat box. Yeah,
there's no chatting, there's no, at the end of the game you can see the names, the tags that people can play with, but while you're playing, it's totally anonymous. And somehow in that way, it feels much more intimate. Like, for example, my dad played, I was sitting next to him, and his first assumption was the other person he met was someone else's dad. He was like also basically having the same experience. He wasn't, he needed that mirror somehow to feel more comfortable. So Journey kind of, I don't know, by making it anonymous, it allows people to sort of get the type of relationship that they need at that moment in their life. That's very powerful. In terms of relationships and enlightenment, I don't know, I think that's a hard question. But I guess I've gone through a shift from sort of focus on this sort of much more kind of mental, heady idea of enlightenment of a certain state or a certain experience to much more focus on just quality relationships. Just being with people seems much more like simple and thing. I don't know really how it is in enlightenment. Focus is shifting, where my interest is shifting to things. I'm not trying to give you this sort of necessarily psychedelic altered state experience, but just sort of very simple. I really like to be in space with someone else.
Because you have that in your 1,000 Years of Kindness project, which you did with David Siegel, where when you were doing something with your phone, it allowed you to do something with someone else.
To take your phone and hijack it to do kind of like a loving kindness meditation, or do meditation as you keep your phone moving. So you couldn't be checking your email or doing anything else with your phone. Using your phone as this sort of visual wand, so you could dance with it, or you could yoga, or you could kind of follow it. But the idea was to sort of take the technology that we normally use for distraction and turn it into something that doesn't really have any purpose other than ritualistic, kind of almost magic power.
And you know that there was somebody 2,000 years ago in Tibet who was like, Mala, this technology, we used to use our fingers, you know, people are going to become dependent on, you know, so I think that's your you're repurposing the phone as a sacred object because you're using it for loving kindness. Yeah, that's really nice. Movement is interesting as well. I'm a yoga teacher, and he studied Ashtanga yoga, and you don't usually associate connection with the body, deep connection with the body with movement. But it seems like there's been a bit of an evolution there with certain technologies that allow movement to be more aspirational. Who's louder? Movement in video gaming and movement in technology. Is there a way for those two things to come together for technology to put us more in touch with our bodies instead of like stays outside?
So I have an interesting story about this. I worked on a game that was actually kind of a crossover of games, video game, where I was designing basically using the Xbox Connect, which basically is like a full skeleton tracking system to know where the person's skeleton is. We made these games, many games, each one was based on a different chakra. Well, the chakras, movements are inspired by the yoga postures that activate the chakra. And what we found in testing the game is that people didn't move how they wanted to move, they moved in the optimal way to do the game. And if you're not, when you're going to you're not, well, some people are going to do the yoga game, but generally, you're not thinking about it in that way. You're trying to feel your body, understand the posture, I guess. And in testing the game, it was really depressing because we had like one game we had to kind of do these head rotation things. It was these really like tight, twitchy, it was like the total opposite. So that's one interesting story of backfiring. A couple, I guess, like the last generation of game consoles, there was all this excited about motion tracking the body, and it really seemed like it had a lot of promise that over the past, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, I haven't played that many games. Really haven't played your body to control the game. So there's already new tech coming out there, which I'm excited about to see. I know just recently at E3, there's some new tech that you like pick up objects in virtual space and whatnot. But it really comes down to like what game you're playing about. And the journey style game using your body is very different than the first person shooter. One of the most like funny things I've seen with the new motion tracking stuff is there's a treadmill called the it's called monopod. It's basically like a sphere that you walk on, and it has like a ring so you don't walk out of it. It's like a treadmill you can walk in any direction. And you can put on a headset that puts you into a virtual battlefield and walk on this ball and hold a virtual gun and shoot things. And it's like the most, it actually looks further from being a soldier than just like sitting on your couch. It's like very awkward. So we're still kind of in the dark ages there, but
one thing that seems interesting about that is the difference between moving your body for some sort of external reward and moving your body where in a yogic sense, the reward is in the internal experience. But I could see, I mean, with technologies like the subpack, I think feeling the frequencies on your body can really help bring you into your body. I find that when I'm using up the subpack, I actually have better posture because I'm like scooting my back into the base of my desk chair. But you know, it might be interesting to see a time when if there is like a full body virtual reality, so people actually have to be aware of their posture because they're looking at themselves from an outside perspective, walking through their first person shooter game and realizing, oh man, I've got terrible posture, you know. Yeah, it's very interesting to see if technology kind of comes around the other side of increasing body awareness simply by bringing body awareness into the virtual realm. I get very geeky about stuff.
One interesting thing we do with our games is we really focus on almost on the feedback we call gameplay, which is like graphics as gameplay. So instead of having like points you're getting or power ups or a lot of progression around who the character is, we're really just providing a lot of feedback to your actions. Like small action and generally all you do is just hold the stick forward and walk. Basically. But the sand moves and the wind moves and the music changes and all of that, that feedback just puts you in the moment in a very powerful way. That is what that kind of moment feedback stuff is looking to whole body stuff. I think that's really powerful.
Yeah. We get turned on.
Yeah, we're done.
We can just can people hear us? Okay. Yeah. It's our stage voices. All right. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I'm blocking out the subpack crew over there. So one of the things that you created was an app called Awareness. And I thought that was really great because it actually is a check-in, not just to remind you to do one thing, like reminding you to breathe or reminding you to do a task, but actually getting you to log some information about your emotional state, about what activity you're doing, and kind of create a little bit of a record that you can look back on and see, well, how am I emotionally affected by different activities? When am I being mindful? When am I being mindful of my body? And bringing you into more of that awareness more regularly.
That made it sound much faster than it actually is. It was very simple.
I only looked at the promotional material, so yeah, a good PR person.
Yeah, the awareness app I made, as partner I was working with at the time, started looking at break timers, which is like a whole world of technology, sort of meta technology on the computer that's designed to help users do better, like things that track what you're doing or prevent you from going to certain websites. Like it's a sort of weird self-imposed, like I won't go to Facebook during these hours. My computer's like, no, you can't go to Facebook. So it's like you're giving up control to the robot and watching their video. It's very weird. So we wanted to make an app that would help you keep track of how long you were spending on the computer and what you're doing while not giving over control to it, basically in some way that's more organic. So it's a very simple idea. Basically, just keep track of how long you're working. And for every unit of time, say 30 minutes instead of 30 minutes, it just brings a kind of Tibetan symbol. It rings its bell. It doesn't stop you from working, it doesn't do anything else, just it's very passive, so background, half hour task. An hour passes, it rings twice, an hour and a half. So it keeps progressively doing more and more. And it gives you a very clear sense of like, okay, am I really in a flow here? Do I need to keep working? This thing just went off 6 times. Like, I've really been in it, or I'm on Facebook. This thing just went off 6 times. That's different. different moment of reflection, I guess. It's very simple. It doesn't really get in your face. It's very kind of most of them are good ones.
Kind of like doing the retreat, not hot, where the bells are going off all the time.
Yeah, I was sort of supposed to make this idea make the operating system actually, which I'm actually making this desktop experience more like this, just more intentional and more, I don't know, just bringing more awareness to it so that you're not doing multiple things at once, you're kind of approaching it with intention. What am I doing? You're more aware as it's happening. Very simple stuff, much less high tech than it is something we talk about. It's very kind of like basic.
But it's a very fine line because it's like you were saying, tech is designed for distraction. We constantly come into contact with tech, that's what it's doing. And even when you're trying to remind people to be mindful, you run the risk of distracting them from a moment where they're being really productive in an activity kind of thing. But it seems like, especially with this project Future Proof Data Seal, it was some thoughts about that. You have those gadget rules.
Yeah, we started trying to write like a kind of modern etiquette guide using technology. So we have things like there was one about like giving thanks every time you use the computer, kind of like
that's great.
Yeah. You know, like actually about all the energy and thoughts and creativity that went into creating this device that you use all the time.
All those coders in the dark room.
Yeah. Yeah, just little things like that really change. I was really good about it for a while, and then unfortunately I kind of fell off the dragon. But it's very hard to do. In a way, I feel like technology needs to be more to support with that. It's just too easy, honestly.
Yeah. And especially if there's this dichotomy between the idea of, here's my spiritual time, and here's my technology time, then, in a way you're recreating that every time you go into a relationship with technology and saying, okay, time to spend some time at the evil beast before I get to go take yoga later or something. So changing the mindset is, and I think that's like an age-old consciousness hacking practice, is to reposition your activity by changing your relationship to the activity. Is this work? Is this something that's distracting me? Is this something that's taking away my peace of mind? Or is it a cause for gratitude? Or a device that will allow me to be more effective or reach more people? I'm also a social media consultant, so I have this talk with a lot of my clients. I work with a lot of like yoga teachers, yoga studios, and we talk about that because there is a sense in that industry of, well, I shouldn't be spending a lot of time on Twitter and Facebook because I'm a like I helped put out 2 books by different Buddhist and meditation teachers to try to convince a meditation teacher to get on Facebook to promote the book. It's quite an interesting task, but I think there is in Buddhism there's the concept of emptiness, of the fact that no object has the qualities that you project onto it from its own side. So you can see something like your phone as a sacred object, as a tool for loving kindness meditation, or you can see your phone as something that's just stressful without distracting you, in social media. The reason that you're using it, where that comes from. What are the elements of an extraordinary game that can really hack your consciousness? Why should we be spending time with gaming? Why not just leave it aside? How can it change it better?
Well, I think games in a way, virtual reality in a way, has this inherent power because it is this other whole experience that you're stepping into. There's something about that process of stepping into the experience and either being triggered to reflect on it in some way, or any experience that you back to your real life. That sort of jumping between realities, I think, has a power to it that changes, has changed the way that I think about my life and reality. I'd say that my life feels more like a video game because I play video games, but I'm just more aware that reality is somewhat constructed playing games, and somewhat
Constructing games.
Yeah, constructing games is somewhat of a like this is I like to think of games as sort of conceptual dreams that we're choosing to have in that way that dreams can be enlightening when you wake up and man, that was so real. Like what was going like just, I don't know, like the sit
Nintendo.
And that really is sort of like, it's almost like a video game. The concept of the game is kind of video game. Very cool. But hopefully the games that we make at that game company are really going back to very simple, like art, ritual, narrative, just example, kind of monotype, really dream stuff. That stuff just, I don't know, it's like, it's old, but it works. Really beautiful space. And we focus a lot on the emotional arc of the characters, so even though there's a lot of conflict or a lot of challenge to the game, loop-wise, you go up and down this arc, and ultimately you take a huge fall and a huge rise. And that sort of simultaneous great depth and great height triggers something very powerful. We got all sorts of fans writing into saying it's reminded of the near-death experience they had, or talking about these games being transcended in the way, which I'm kind of jealous of in a way. Like I experienced it, but it almost
You've seen behind the curtain.
some of the fans have experienced it really blown me away.
I think what you said about archetype and symbol, and then of course the use of music for Journey is really beautiful. And to me, Journey reminded me a little bit of some of the complex Tibetan Buddhist visualization meditations, which involve aspects of Journey, of compassion, generating compassion practices, like in this game when you start working with and sharing rewards with other people. It involves sort of visualizing symbols that you don't necessarily really understand, but that have, deep subconscious archetypal resonance in order to change your mind and to change your consciousness into being a being that is more compassionate or that shares some of these archetypal qualities. And I was watching a YouTube video of someone playing Journey, and it was interesting because he kept saying, I don't really know what's happening. This is really cool. I don't really know, and so it's interesting to think of a game being constructed that isn't in that super clear narrative of risks and rewards, but it is sort of allowing you to enter into that space of unknowing a little bit, which is pretty scary in reality, but maybe has the door open to it when it comes to gaming.
I think one thing we did when we do with our new game too is that rather than trying to like appeal to one religion or one belief system, we kind of like boil everything down to what feels like a very general sort of set of beliefs and a culture that's really steeped in history and sort of feel comfortable engaging with without becoming in conflict with any of their existing beliefs. So it's not that the game doesn't have like, the game is really a lot about belief, a lot about the history of civilization and culture, the art, kind of the religion of that world, but because it isn't really challenging any existing belief systems necessarily, we feel comfortable stepping into that world and experiencing it inside.
Let's see. Yeah, I think we're about at time. So, any final thoughts that you want to leave us with?
No, I'm curious if anyone has any questions. I'm excited for our new game to come out, so see it. Yeah.
I'm curious, like, a lot of this is always like creating this like game. And I think like maybe, I guess my question is just, I've seen it start to edge into this other experience space.
Yeah.
And for me, maybe part of the problem with the Deepak Chopra game was it's called a game. Right? So it's like, I gotta beat the game, I won the game, I cut the game, and I'm out. Do you see anything with it? And I'm very interested in creating experiences with these type of products. Do you see any of the industry sort of shifting that way as well, where it's not a linear win? You never actually turn it off on the practice.
Yeah, there's sort of like an on-games movement.
Yeah, I'm part of that.
The challenge with that is like, it can easily kind of slip into the avant-garde where it no longer becomes accessible. Sort of like, not that it isn't valuable, but in terms of like reaching a lot of people, it becomes a sort of more esoteric kind of fire experience.
Right.
So,
but I can argue that maybe those experiences could be far more complex and long term, like playing saxophone.
yeah, sure.
And so like, it's just like, when is the experience going to have that level of depth?
Yeah. We do need a new term for it, though. I think games have something.
You know what I mean? Because like, if it has that level of depth, then someone might use it for 50 years.
Yeah, we talk about interactive
what is it? Interactive entertainment. Right.
But yeah, there is really a good word yet for these experiences that aren't about achievement or winning. They're really about being in a place or a space or sharing that place with someone else. Or even if it is learning a new skill over a long amount of time, it's still a very different goal than maybe in the game state, for instance.
Just a little aside, I've seen them described as walking simulators. So there's a few. I played a few. There's the one called Proteus. Basically, I think a lot of them are based on it's kind of more of an art experience rather than necessarily like a mindfulness or a consciousness type experience. But at the same time, you're walking through this world of brilliant colors that are changing as you walk, and there's like peaceful music playing that is somehow reactive to what you're doing or where you're walking, because you really don't have a whole lot of agency apart from the ability to move around, change your perspective. You can't pick stuff up or anything. But I think those things kind of cross over the art and the consciousness side of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of nice games that have sort of like they have an art, but they also have a lot of feedback. We're just moving to the world. We're creating interactive systems that brings me to the moment.
You work on into the world or other stuff outside that game cover?
I haven't since I started thinking. I kind of do my own projects to work there and focus on that. We're a pretty small team on the team right now, so everyone work with it. I do still think about making other games. It's challenging. Our games, we're a small company and we make very sort of polished, detailed games. We're in year 3 right now in this game, so it's very long-term.
Is the purpose in making those games specifically with that company to make just emotional games or games that just engage in a different way than regular games?
The initial kind of goal of the company was to create experiences that weren't deep down elsewhere in the industry. And kind of like all the aggressive power trip feelings are pretty well covered. Sports and pretty well covered.
The lizard brain is well stimulated.
Yeah, exactly. So all our games kind of, the first game we made was about flow states. The second game was about the tension between the urban space and nature, area, and journey is really about sort of intimacy and maybe so those are all novel experiences. We start each game like a key feeling or emotion that we're looking for, and I'll just iterate around that over and over again. Rather than starting with a mechanic or even like a piece of art that's about feeling, a lot of relation, deep meaning.
Thank you so much. I hope that we get to talk to you again when you can talk about your secret game. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So I have a second talk prepared, which I mentioned now. So I'm going to take this opportunity to sort of close this out here. I would, as sort of an outsider in a way, I want to take this opportunity to thank all the people that helped to organize this event. So if you're part of the organizational team for Consciousness Hacking LA, raise your hand, please. You helped to make this. Couldn't be here. This is an amazing bunch of people that have come together to create this platform, this community, this opportunity for everyone to be exchanging in this way. And this is just the beginning. So I really encourage all of you to come back, to watch, to be helping in an active way to create this community. It's not a passive process. It can do so many things. So please come next month and the month after. They're probably starting to do monthly meetups. So thank all of you for coming and being here. Thank you, So we'll close in the way that we started, which is the way that we usually close the meetups in the Bay Area also, with a few breaths together. Just an opportunity to take a moment of thanks and gratitude for the fact that we could just be in this room together and exchanging these ideas. And it's just an incredible opportunity for us. So let's take a nice big inhale, breathing into our hearts. Exhale, breath out, naturally draw. Thank you.